What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets Haber. We are coming to you for our Friday baseball show, and it's our last. I mean, I think we have one more Friday for baseball, but like we're running out of time. And then it gets into NBA in a couple weeks after. We're gonna have a little break there, which is nice. I'm looking forward to that. But we will have the NFL, of course, and me and Rody will be doing a show later today. Sheets and I already did our preview. I'm really excited about today for some reason. Things have not been going my way in MLB recently. I have not been doing well over the last, I'd say 7 to 10 days, 10 days or so. But I really feel good about this slate. I have a couple strong takes, and I mostly am just like excited. You get that weird feeling every now and then, and usually for me it leads to some good things, whether it's for me or for you or somebody around us. I feel like is going to win a lot of money tonight.
I have a couple of observations from yesterday, actually. Actually, a really important one. So yesterday, if you play both multiple sports, was the ultimate death of chalk. So you had a 75% Aaron Nola, who gave up 5 runs in the first inning.
He actually
hang on. Let me finish.
But his number was good.
Let me finish.
Okay.
And you had Christian McCaffrey at 95% owned get injured after the first quarter in whatever. Okay. So what I was going to say is that although Nola did give up 5 runs in the first inning and then 1 in the second, he still ended up with a passable score. And it's important to realize that when you're selecting pitchers, again, what the types of pitchers that you really want as kind of your horses, and you want really 2 things. You want, and this is like but you want strikeouts and you want a leash. Okay. Like you want to be able to rack up pitches, and in those pitches to have a good opportunity to get strikeouts. And you have a guy like Nola and Nola, Scherzer, even Wheeler, like these guys that they're just going to get their 100+ pitches. You know what I mean? Like they're just going to get them. And if he gives up 5 runs in the first inning, okay, you know what? Good. At least he gave up the home run on the first pitch. You know what I mean? Because he saved his pitches and he got through the innings. Because the part of baseball, number one, is you have to get through the game, so you have to get these pitches. And second of all, these are freaking studs. They get paid millions of dollars. They can freaking pitch. You know what I mean? They let them go. They're not they don't have to mess around with them. They don't have to the guy's in a little bit of trouble. Get him out of here. These guys are just gonna roll. So and we've seen that so many times that how many times this year have we seen Cole give up 4 runs in the first inning and have 30 fantasy points by the end of the game? And even though, although he didn't get 30 fantasy points, but you have that floor of just having that leash. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if he gives up 5 runs in the first inning. He's just going to continue to roll. And I don't know whether he ended up being optimal or whatever. I kind of stopped paying attention. But the fact is that you learn for the future is that when you're between pitchers and you're between kind of cutesy plays or whatever, these big, workhorse pitchers are just what you just really should be doing in baseball.
Yeah, I totally agree. Obviously, they're going to have, down games like Nola did. But like you said, he bounced back and you go, it was the old Verlander thing. I remember I watched a game one time and Verlander gave up 6 runs in the first inning and everybody around me is going, why are they letting this guy stay in? I was watching it with my family and friends and he ended up pitching I think he ended up throwing 8 innings and having 14 strikeouts or something like that. Huh. And that's what these guys do. I mean, the workhorse pitchers they're going to have a leash, especially the Philly guys, Wheeler and Nola. And you're going to have opportunities no matter what. By the way, with the McCaffrey thing, I have to feel like I jinxed him a little bit. I was in a DFS conversation back and forth, a little argument, not an argument, but just a conversation with Shan about why he wasn't the best running back in the league. And I say, I don't think he has a good chance of staying healthy. And literally the next play is when he gets hurt. I felt like
we talked about it, man. I said I've seen him limping off the field several times.
The only way, but again, it was the only way you could fade him last night and make money, and was to assume he's going to get injured because that guy was going to put up a number.
Ooh, and I'll tell you this. I mean, I've been running really hot in Survivor this season. When I say really hot, I mean I've had some chances to lose that have faded, and last night was a perfect example. I mean, I have all kinds of Carolina. And then McCaffrey went down and the offense completely fell apart for 2 full quarters. But oh my God, I'm actually going to have to sweat this. Eventually they got their act together, but that's that was rough. All right, you want to just get right into this?
Let's get right into it because right now I don't have an official picture. I don't know if any of this is going to stay true for Pittsburgh. I am interested in Philly probably no matter what, whoever Pittsburgh throws out there. But if it is a bullpen game, I'll be a little less interested. But I have interest in Philly. There's a lot of teams on this slate. I have them with a question mark. I'd like to know who's exactly pitching. I don't know if it's going to be the Howard and then the other show. We've seen this change so many times later on in the day recently, and I'm probably going to just I'm interested in Philly, but I'm going to have to just wait. I really can't make a projection without having. I have question marks. I have 4 different guys who they could be starting tonight, so it's hard to know. And I like Gibson. Sorry.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to ask you right off the bat. I mean, we're talking about guys with leashes, for example. And although Gibson's not like a workhorse, stud pitcher like some of these other guys are, they do let him pitch, and 7,900 is he's going to project pretty well with that. I mean, he's not my top option, but he's in there. I mean, I right now it's weird. I mean, it's early in the day, kind of hoping that things change for me, because right now, like, I don't have like any of the really good pitchers in my top options.
Okay.
So I have Gibson is like 1, 2, 3. I have him rated like tied 4th, 5th today. I'd rather not play him, but it's he's 7,900 and he could pitch 100 pitches. It's something we just talked about. So and again, I'm all too happy to go against Pittsburgh the day after they got after Aaron Nola, right?
Yeah.
So I do like Philly as a hitting team too. I have them, obviously the San Francisco and the Dodgers. I mean, they're in Colorado. I mean, that's up there. And then there's Toronto. But I have Philly kind of just below that group actually.
Yep.
And they did it right from yesterday. So that's it.
Yeah, I'm interested in Philly. I just need to know what's going to happen with this situation, with the pitching situation. But I definitely have Philly as one of my teams at the moment, basically with no matter who they throw out there. But I would like to figure it out before I fully commit to it. Philly's a very streaky offense without their best lineup being put out there every day. I know they had some big one. They had a decent day yesterday, but like there's a pinch hit home run for a 3-run homer. It wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't like they just laid it on. They had 2 good innings. I guess that's all you need though. All right, you want to talk about Texas and Baltimore?
Yeah, but the only thing I did right, well, actually the only thing, but I did have just a good chunk of Otto, and he did pretty nicely. Yeah. And then the other part of yesterday was I had all kinds of hitting from both sides, and the final score was 2-0 or something like that. That's the end of that. So I don't really have much of an interest in the hitting. Obviously, I don't even know his pitching. But I do have, again, some mild interest in Texas. I would go back to that. Baltimore, Wells, whatever, and then the bullpen and Tech. I'll go right back to the same guys. I'll go back to Garcia, who's a little getting a little pricier, but that's fine. And the same guys we played before. Was it Solak and don't expect all that much, but you can't put the Dodgers and San Francisco in all your lineup. So I don't know. I do have Texas as kind of I have a secondary option today, and I'm probably going to fiddle around with them a little bit. Now, if you had a choice between Mancini and Mountcastle, who are both just single eligible for first base, Mountcastle is going to be more expensive, so probably lower owned. I mean, where were you? But then again, he might have a little recency bias, hit a home run last night. But who would you prefer between Mancini and Mountcastle at first base?
I think Mountcastle, just with the recent form, I guess, is what would be the decider. But I think Mancini is every bit as good or better of a hitter than Mountcastle at these 3.2K. I just think he's been struggling with his power numbers the second half of the season. Sometimes that happens with the home run derby, man. He had a good home run derby, and guys sometimes struggle after those things. Some guys don't, but some guys really do. And the old Bobby Abreu effect. That guy, he had 28 home runs at the All-Star break, and I think he won the home run derby, and then I think he won the whole second half of the season playing every game. It's pretty incredible. Yeah, it's hard to do that. But Mancini's added a little bit of a micro version of that. But I do like Mancini still. I'm not going to shy away from long-term. In baseball, we can't worry too much about recent form. We have to worry a little bit about the long-term, what we can expect from these guys anyway. But I think it's pretty easy to get things in you want to. But I just want to say, like, these guys have talent. The McKenna, Baltimore's, they're bad. They're young and they're bad, but they're getting better. McKenna's got some talent. Mancini, obviously Hayes, who I mentioned already. Hayes is really talented. Mullins is an all-star already. Mountcastle is on his way. And then you got, the other guy, Jamal Jones, if he gets in the lineup today too. These guys are talented. They're just bringing up their young talent. And you know me, my whole theory with the way to get an edge in modern day DFS is to try to be ahead of the curve on the young guys. And I think that we can do that with some of these Baltimore bats. So I like that quite a bit. Let's talk about Cincinnati and Washington. Sonny Gray is definitely a guy I'm looking at. I would say that Washington has been a little bit peskier than people maybe give them credit for, but Sonny Gray is a terrific option. He's going to be really popular. He's obviously pretty high on my list. I'll go through my pitching at the end because I'm sort of deciding between some names here. And then again, look, I'm going to be heavy on Cincinnati. I don't care that they laid a total dud last night. I think that this is the other spot you go to because no one's going to play them at these prices with the Dodgers and the Giants on the board. I think that this is a really, really good opportunity. And you do get Schrock probably batting at the top of the lineup at 2.3K. I think this is a really good opportunity to take Cincinnati as low owned, and I think they could be explosive tonight. So I actually think Cincinnati I have ahead of Philadelphia tonight personally.
I have Gray as tied for the best option on FanDuel with somebody else. And on DraftKings, I have him kind of tied with the same guy, but as a second option over on DraftKings. So yes, consider it 25 pitching options. I definitely have Gray near the top of my list over there. And I agree with you with respect to Cincinnati on FanDuel right now. I mean, I have them as a nice team to pair with either San Fran or LA, or if you want to fade them both. I mean, just to use. I didn't quite get to them on DraftKings, which again means that they're probably expensive, which again means that they're probably going to be really low owned, which means they're probably a really good play over there too. And Bobby's talked about that like a lot, like when the team kind of pops on FanDuel, to just play them on DraftKings, because if people want to play them, they'll only play them on FanDuel, and they'll have really, really depressed ownership on DraftKings. Even though they might not be the better point per dollar play on DraftKings, they're just the lack of ownership will just more than make up for that. That
was one of the things I did right yesterday, was playing Baltimore, who was going to be owned on DraftKings, but not on FanDuel, and I played Baltimore on FanDuel, not on DraftKings. You know what I mean? That was a small slate, so it's different. But I do think that the Cincinnati offense is a lot weaker than it's not like we can just say, oh, Cincinnati at home. There's no Moustakas in this lineup. There's no Jesse Winker, who's been one of the best 5 hitters in baseball against right-handed pitching in this lineup. But they still have a pretty strong lineup. They're in a great hitter's park, and I'm going to be heavy on them, especially if they get to Espino. This could be a monster pour it on game, because we've seen Washington's bullpen at times. Their top guys are okay. Their other guys are absolute garbage. So I think that there's some opportunity there.
You know what I noticed, by the way, and again, like baseball's winding down, so maybe I'll make this change for next year. But I can continue to make this change. You know what I never do? I just presume that when I say that I like a team, that they know what the players are. You know what I mean? Like I usually don't say, oh, I like this, then this is part of my stack or whatever, because a lot of it depends on the lineup and stuff like that. So I will do a little bit better with that, but the guys that I have what makes Cincinnati a good play for me, Suarez, Castellano, India, Votto, and this guy
Schrock.
No, this other guy, Friedel.
Yeah, well, they both should be in the lineup today, not for sure, but they both could be in the lineup, and they're both 2.1 and 2.3.
Oh, okay.
Schrock is more likely to hit towards the top of the lineup in my estimation, but maybe not. We'll see how it shakes out.
Okay.
And if you get that kid in, I know he didn't look. It doesn't matter how much nobody does anything, but the shortstop kid for minimum cost, if he ends up playing again, he has a Barrero. He's got a ton of talent, like just an absolute immense amount of talent, and he's a guy we should be riding. He's not a 2K player, and I think there's some opportunity here. There's going to be some value on Cincinnati. I think they're starting to realize they're not going to make the playoffs. So, well, here's an interesting game. This is this is my daughter's first. She's going to Boston. She's in Boston. My family left, but she stayed on the boat, so she's been working on a boat, and sort of doing her thing. They're actually like paying her, which she feels great about, and she's 15 years old. She's coming home and going to spend some days with me next week. But she really wanted to go to a Red Sox Yankees game, and so they're going today, which is kind of a fun one. She's never been to she goes to Dodger games, Giants games, and all that stuff, but she hasn't been to a game like this, and she hasn't been to Fenway. So I'm excited for her. Having said that, I would like to. I think that the way you do this game is Garrett Cole. I think is an awesome play, and I don't care. Like, it's the highest run total I've ever seen projected against Garrett Cole, without question. I've never seen Garrett Cole with a 4.5 run total against him. I really like Garrett Cole. I don't care if it does. Now, if he ends up owned, I'm okay just to go completely away from it. But if he's not owned, we'll talk about a workhorse, pitcher that in a must-win game. This guy might throw 120 pitches tonight, and that could mean 13 strikeouts. I don't care if he gives up a couple home runs. I know Boston doesn't strike out as much and whatever. Throw those numbers away when you're talking about Garrett Cole, in my opinion. No interest in Eovaldi, and I do think the Yankees bats are going to be they're sort of fit into the Cincinnati mold of not going to be owned at all. And while Eovaldi has some stuff, he throws fastballs, he challenges hitters, and these are not the hitters in general that should work out against very well. So I like the Yankees as maybe a one-off kind of a thing with Gallo, Stanton, and Judge, one of those guys. I don't think I'm fully stacking them, but I do like the Yankees one-offs a lot.
So about a week ago, I was planning on actually, this guy I used to back in poker. He texted me. He's from Canada. He's from Toronto, actually. He says, "Dude, can you get tickets for Robbie Ray at New York for the playing game?" And I'm like, I don't know. We'll see. Why, you come down? He's like, maybe. So a lot's changed. So now the Blue Jays are in third.
Yep.
And the Red Sox are, I don't want to say safely ahead, but the Red Sox are 2 games ahead of the Yankees, and the Yankees are 1 game ahead of the Blue Jays. So the Yankees, like you said, they're in full must-win mode. So Garrett Cole's going to throw as many pitches as they need him to throw. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And it also looks like, oh man, maybe it's travel to Fenway for a play-in game. I don't know. I kind of want to see a game. I don't know what I want to do.
I think you're gonna look, if it's gonna, by the way, the Yankees, I mean, they could sweep the series and be ahead of the Red Sox, and they could play at home against the Red Sox.
That's true too.
So this is going to be fun. It's always what we want to see. I wish the Dodgers had some end of season games against the Giants, but I really think this is a fun situation, and it's going to be a playoff like game. So I think that you're going to see Cole throw 1 million pitches unless he's struggling. I'm very into it, and we've got some great playoff races to talk about. This is one of them, and it certainly would be fun to watch a winner take all game against the Yankees and Red Sox. But I think
I'll tell you, man, we can talk more about this. But so there's certain sports that, at least for me, like there's a different, I don't want to say environment, but I just enjoy them so much more in the playoffs than in the regular season. Like basketball, for me, it doesn't matter. Like I'll watch a basketball game. I'll go to a basketball game, regular season, playoff. I don't care. You know what I mean? Football, I'll go to a football regular season game, playoff game. Really doesn't care. But like for whatever reason, it comes to baseball and hockey also. Like for me, like playoff baseball, just different for me for some reason.
Oh, it's just completely different.
Yeah. Oh, so that's not like we said. That's not particularly earth-shattering take, I suppose. But
for my family, they don't understand it. They treat every game like it's a playoff game. What's wrong with the Dodgers?
I guess some people think that way. Yeah, I guess so.
I don't think that way. I'm the same as you. I love the playoff atmosphere in baseball. I think it's a whole different. It's like a different sport almost. It's totally different.
You know what it is? I think it's also because in football, like for example, every game is sold out. You know, like basketball, pretty much every game is sold out. Yep. You know, so it is. Where baseball, it's always a wasteland until the playoffs come. So yeah, this is going to be a really good game. I'm not getting the Cole right now, but this could be again one of those spots where the projections just don't matter. You know what I mean? Like you just want it to. He could get 35 fantasy points. You know, will he? Probably not, but he could. And if he does, you want it. You know, that's the best I can describe it.
The pitcher with the highest ceiling on the slate is always going to be appealing regardless of matchup. He could be pitching in Coors today. I'm always going to take shots on if they're going to be low owned. If they're going to be high owned, I'm happy to fade away.
And I'll tell you this, Cole has been low owned a lot this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
People make the mistake of realizing that, oh, look, he's getting hit harder. He's doing this. What do we care? Let him get hit hard. He's still got a 45 fantasy point upside on DraftKings. Nobody else has this. He's put up 2 games of 45 or better in his last 8 starts. He had a 50 game against Houston. Like, I mean, his ceiling is through the roof. On these giant slates, you need to play for ceiling, in my opinion, unless it's a really garbage pitching slate. And he has the highest ceiling, period. That's just simple as that. You ready to talk about Miami, Tampa Bay, the battle of Florida?
just to finish off. Right. I didn't get much of the hitting in the game in the Yankees Red Sox game. I just didn't. I guess you could argue for it, but I didn't quite get to the Yankees at first crack, but I'll look again later.
I think Stanton, Gallo, especially at their prices, are really interesting. Unfortunately, there's a lot of good outfielders, so I'd rather use it on first baseman if I'm going to take one-offs, but I don't love playing Rizzo as a one-off in general, but I'm considering it today.
I'll tell you, man, Tampa. Look, I mean, I like root for the Yankees. You know, I'll root for other teams, whatever it is.
Now down to Tampa.
But Tampa is just like the greatest freaking team. I mean, I've commented this before. I'll look at the lineups they'll throw out sometimes. They'll put Arena hitting 7th. They'll put someone hitting 2nd. They'll put their worst hitter hitting 4th. I mean, what are you doing? But they have it all worked out, you know. And then I'm like, so what's going on today? Yarbrough is going to come out of the bullpen today. I'm sure there's a reason. You know what I mean? I'm sure they got the whole thing worked out. And I'm looking at this. I'm watching the Yankees with Cole and the Red Sox, these loaded liners battling for these freaking wild card spots. And the Rays are like, yeah, no problem. We're like 6 games ahead of everybody. We got everything locked up.
Incredible.
They're freaking insane.
They're better than the team that last year we beat in the World Series. I mean, they're really good. And there should be a different, we need a new update to Moneyball, call it Funny Ball or whatever, because Tampa Bay has to do every single thing weird possible. They literally trade every superstar player they make a guy a superstar, David Price, Chris Archer, everybody who's good. They go and trade him, and they get the best trades of all time. You know, you get Austin Meadows and Glass now in response for Chris Archer. You know what I mean? Like, they're just a freaking dynamo. I don't know. I love this franchise. I'm not going to be playing them today. Nope. I actually would say that. Honestly, they're totally viable. If you want to go that way, I'm not going to talk you off of it. But I would say that if it was yesterday's slate, I'd be playing Edward Cabrera against them all over the place. Sure, this kid's got an incredible amount of talent. But I don't, you can't do it on this slate, in my opinion. But I do think Tampa Bay in general, on the flip side of it, is always viable as a stack, just not going to make it for me today.
Yep.
White Sox Cleveland, another high total against C's. I don't care again. I think if you talk about here's the problem. Nothing to play for, probably going to be between 90 and 100 pitches. But this guy's strikeout stuff is unbelievable. He's finally coming into his own. We're catching him on the way up a little bit. I've been waiting for it to happen for the last couple of years. And I think C's he's going to be popular. He's a great option to me. I have C's, I think I'm going to end up going with more Cole today because I really think that you just play ceiling on these type of situations. But I really like C's. I think he's got the highest K prop on the slate, 8.5 K prop. That's like a huge, I actually would bet the under on that if I had to bet, just because, look, the White Sox have clinched and they're going to let him stretch out. They're going to let him go 90 to 100. I think. I don't think you're ever seeing him go over 100 pitches, maybe 101 or 2. But there's no reason to let him go more than 100 in this kind of a situation. So that's the only disclaimer for C's here. How about you for C's?
Yeah. So first of all, let's talk about Shane Bieber. So Shane Bieber's coming back. Yeah, he's starting.
Okay, so I've got it still as a question mark, but
So Shane Bieber is starting, but according to the manager, he's going to throw 75 pitches. So he's not playable at 11-3, but it's just what's that?
I would say he's not at 11-3.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm just pointing it out.
No, right. If he was 7,300, we could have a conversation. That guy's
exactly. Let me just make sure about this. It says, this is coming from 2 days ago.
He's in. He's
expected to be limited to 75 pitches, and but I think it's definitely enough to keep me off the White Sox.
It's enough to keep me off the White Sox as well.
Yeah. So I don't have much of a hitting here, and I agree with respect to Cease. I have him. He's the guy alongside with Gray that I had my top FanDuel guys, and he's also the guy along with Gray that I have as tied for my second best DraftKings. So yeah, I do like him. I think that I think while they're not going to just have him go 120 pitches, I think that, like you said, I think they're going to get him playoff ready. You know what I mean? Like they'll let him go 6 innings in 100, or something like that.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's good enough. Cleveland's for the most part kind of weak. They have good spots, obviously, with Ramirez or whatever. But I think Cease is certainly a really, really strong option.
Yeah, the lineup they're rolling out there is pretty strikeout heavy today. So I actually am good with Cease. Even if he gives up runs, I think he gets.
So let's put these guys. So we'll put in Cole and Cease for now. But remember, Sonny Gray was also
Sonny. Yeah, those are the three I've got ahead of everybody at the moment. But we'll keep going. Let's see. Okay, so I'm inclined to do something a little bit weird in this one, and that is play Carlos Hernandez at 5,500. I don't think we can't play everybody. He's obviously behind the other guys for me, but at 5,500, I think against a Detroit team, putting up 20 plus fantasy points feels very viable. Now, do we need it? There's some good value, like I mentioned, that I like, but this guy has put up over 20 fantasy points. Even his starts where he's kind of not been so great, he's still going 6 innings. I know he struggled last time out against Oakland, whatever. I just look past one bad start, no big deal. You look at it overall, 4 out of his last 9 starts, he's put up over 22 fantasy points, and he's 5,500 against a Detroit team that's the most strikeout heavy in the American League. So I'm open to it. I like the over on his K prop, over 4.5 Ks. And I think that he's a viable option, even though I'm not going to go crazy with it. But at low ownership, I can get behind a little bit of it. That's where I'm at in this game. I have no interest in the hitting, and it's just the way it is. I don't have an explanation for. There's just better stacks, I guess. That's pretty much it.
According to my numbers and stuff, I have Hernandez is kind of the fifth best option. So I definitely am into that. But dude, I'm totally into the Casey Mize idea too. Casey Mize is a lot of talent also. So I could see playing a little bit of that too. Now again,
careful with Mize. I don't know if he's going to go long enough.
You know what? You're right. I forgot about that.
He hasn't been pitching deep into anything.
Right. They have been limiting him. I totally forgot about that.
So I would go Hernandez over Mize personally.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Good call there. So yeah, so I do have Hernandez as a kind of a fifth best option. Again, same question as always with the 5,500 guys. Do you need it? And
right.
Let's see when we talk about Coors and the Dodgers and whatever. Let's see from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe you do need it.
Maybe. So now we've got another one of these win games in Chicago, okay? I don't think I'm going to mess with it this time, pitching-wise. It's tempting. We see the win, but it hasn't, not only has it not worked out, I actually think Steele has got a little bit of talent, but I'm not messing against the Cardinals right now. They're just, as much as I say play the long-term results, the Cardinals are just red hot right now. I don't want to mess with that team. Hottest team in baseball. I'm probably just going to stay away in this game.
I have Zach Davies going.
I had Steele going. Okay.
Going for according to DraftKings app, but there's a bunch of games like that. It's all screwed up. So we gotta, and we'll get to another one in a second. So Zach Davies, I have him as the probable according to DraftKings. So I don't know. And no, you don't want to play Flaherty. Don't just make that mistake of just saying, "Oh, I like Flaherty." He's only going to play, probably go for an inning or two, I think, with a couple innings.
I don't know about Flaherty, by the way, because I have Hap here. This is really weird, but
That's what I'm saying. I mean, the whole thing, the whole slate is like this.
Yeah, it's that time of year. Well, if Flaherty does start, I actually might have. He's too expensive, but otherwise, I would probably have a little bit of interest. I don't think I can.
It says projected opener for Flaherty.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, see, I've got it as Hap. It's very strange. St. Louis is also, just trying to win every game, but I'm just not touching this game.
Yep.
All right. Milwaukee and the Mets. I don't think I can get to any of the hitting in this game. You could talk me into one off of Alonso, Baez, Lindor, whatever. I'm just not getting to anything. I'm sort of flirting with the idea of the McGill idea, and people are going to play Lauer because he's been good, really good. Maybe that's not the worst idea against the Mets team that struggle with lefties at times this year. I just don't think I'm going to do it. Personally, I think I'm off this game.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the DraftKings app is only in the last half hour did they remove. They had Corbin Burns go for all morning.
So
I'm like, what is going on? So everyone's got a
playoff baseball thing. It's like week 17 in the NFL. I guess
I don't have anything in this game.
Yeah, I don't either. How about, okay, so we have Alex Wood against, I'm guessing, I don't know, is it going to be Lambert? It's going to be one of these weird games. Obviously San Francisco is going to project as the number one stack. The weird part is I'm not sure people are going to play them that much. I know that sounds crazy, but like the prices and the player familiarity names might keep people off of them. Like finally DraftKings waited 152 games to decide to start raising people's prices for Coors Lights. It took them that long. I like San Francisco, and if they're not going to be owned, I will jump all over that. I really hope they lose this game as a Dodger fan, but I don't care when it comes to DFS, and I love San Francisco. I'm much less inclined to play the Colorado side, but at the same time, you have Garrett Hampson and CJ Cron who are criminally priced. Like their prices on Colorado are just nuts, and Trevor Story for that matter. So you can put Colorado under like the value category. It's pretty nuts. Everybody on their team is about 1,000 to 2,000 too cheap, in my opinion, maybe even more, including Trevor Story, who's only 4,300. So both sides of this game, heavy interest for me. I'm going to be all over this game in general. And if the ownership sways and everybody ends up deciding just to play Coors, then fine, they can do that. I think this is a great spot to attack if other people aren't going to go there.
Yeah, I don't see this being the case. So what I have right now,
you think they're going to be super popular?
Well, here's the deal. So right now, I have what you have. Like when I'm looking at my numbers here, I have the Dodgers and San Francisco tied, as far as like the ability to put up points. And I have the Dodgers as like 3 times the ownership in San Francisco. And that just can't be the case. I mean, you just can't have San Francisco going into Colorado without them being the chalk. I just don't think it's possible. But I mean, that's what I have right now. But maybe you're right. Maybe the name recognition of San Francisco could keep people off of them. And if that's the case, I mean, LFG. What can I tell you? So I do have San Francisco rated along with the Dodgers as tied for my top stack on both sites. And I have Colorado as right in there, honestly, on DraftKings. Yeah, I'll go down with Coors again, I guess.
Yeah, I just find that whole game really, really interesting. And by the way, Colorado is trying, like they're playing their best baseball. They're trying, it's weird because they just did it against the Dodgers and I expect them to do the same against San Francisco. They're playing really good baseball right now, actually, which is unlike them for this season, but they're trying to keep both somehow. I don't know. They can't keep everybody out of the playoffs, but they're definitely putting their best foot forward as if they were almost in a playoff race.
Who else has a really good swing, by the way? I don't know if I don't want to play against lefty really, but this Hilliard's really good. I like him.
I love absolutely 100%. He's been the coolest thing of the year was getting him at like 1% and 2%, batting eighth because he was batting eighth, and literally that's the only reason. He's awesome. All right, Toronto, Minnesota. Am I missing something as to why there's no love at all for Barry? I know I say this about Barrios all the time. Really, really, really good real life pitcher. Over his last 4 starts, averaging 27 fantasy points per game. 9,500 is a reasonable price. no one playing him against a Minnesota team that hasn't been as good at the plate against righties. I think he's interesting, and it's interesting that the run total for Toronto that isn't a little higher. It's almost like I don't know. I don't exactly understand it. I'm open to Toronto as always being a team, but I don't know how. I don't think I want to go crazy with it. I don't know. I'm debating about Toronto. Toronto is one of the iffy stacks for me. How about you?
Yeah, I got them. I have them alongside of Philly. Honestly, I mean, I have them below San Francisco, Dodgers and Colorado, but I have them right there with Philly. And I just think these other. I don't like the Barrios as much as some of the others. I mean, I have them as certainly no one's going to play them because nobody plays them anyway. I'm just not quite getting there today. But yeah, I like a little bit of Toronto. You can always play a little bit of Toronto, and I have them, like I just said, below San Francisco, below Dodgers, below Colorado, probably right alongside.
Yeah, same page. I might have to revisit the Toronto thing though, because if they end up I'm just confused at the run total. Why is it 4.6 instead of 5.4 or something like that? Like it just doesn't make sense to me. I'm a little confused. All right, Seattle and the Angels. Your real value, the obvious value, is going to be Logan Gilbert. Mm-hmm. Seattle also trying to make a little playoff push, and he's facing the Angels, and we like to take a shot on that. I have the projections on him are something's wrong here on the site I'm looking at, because they've got him as 11.5 K prop, which is I would have ever seen in my entire life. And by the way, this I'm telling you right now, as a real life pitcher, Suarez has got good stuff. Both these pitchers are interesting to me. Gilbert is obviously the preferred one because of the matchup, but I really do like Gilbert, and I'm not going to touch any bats in this game. I think Suarez is really interesting though.
Yeah, Gilbert rates the best for me on the slate, point per dollar. Like you said, he's going to be really, really good value. He's cheap, he has talent, and he's against the bad hitting team, so he's gonna rate that way. Do you have to play him? No, you don't have to play anybody. I think that if he becomes really, really popular, then this Carlos Hernandez play really, really starts to get a lot of teeth,
Right.
So but I do like him, and I'm with you with respect to two of the things you said. Number one is that Suarez is a real good, he's not a bad pitcher, but I don't think I want to play him. I don't think he's going to get the strikeouts. I think if Seattle were for some reason like a chalky hitting team, maybe just to lower the damage or whatever. But is Suarez like a guy that is going to get strikeouts, or is he just going to
Well, he had 7 against Houston in 5 innings before last. He had pitched a complete game. I believe it was a shutout. No, he gave up 1 run. He pitched a complete game against Texas 3 starts ago, put up 37 fantasy points. He's got good stuff. I've watched him pitch. He has enough strike. His K prop is 5 for this game. I actually think if I had to bet on that one, someone forced me, I would bet the over. But I don't.
This is a really strong pivot then as well. I mean,
yeah, that's the other pivot for me is Suarez. So I can get behind either of these pitchers, but especially, I mean, Gilbert's the obvious one, but I do think Suarez is an interesting pivot. Dodgers and Arizona. The Dodgers coming out of, teams coming out of Coors, we always like to give a little boost down to. I think they're going to have the roof open in Arizona. I will double check that before we go live later. But I like the Dodgers a ton. They're going to be fairly popular for the size of the slate because they're reasonably priced, and we've got some value at the bottom with Rayleigh and Lux. I can get behind the Dodgers completely, and I have them currently right behind San Francisco as my top stacks. And I honestly am starting to look at the slate and not worry as much about ownership at all. So I have
the Dodgers like you just said. I have them dead tied with San Francisco on both sites. I think they're going to get owned, but like I said, how much can you really get owned on a 15-game slate? Guess we're going to see. Maybe, like you said, I'm not saying the Dodgers did poorly in Colorado, but I feel as though that the DFS community was a little disappointed with the results.
Yes.
So it's possible that people, and we've seen this before, right? That guys coming off, I think it was San Diego, earlier in the year, they were chalk in Colorado like 3 games in a row and scored a total of 5 runs or something. And then like the next game, like in some ridiculous place, they scored 10 runs or something like that. So
Right.
so when nobody played them. So I definitely I'm hoping that the Dodgers get I don't say ignored, they're never going to get ignored, but hoping the Dodgers don't get piled on so much. But yeah, same as usual, man. You know, you go for those Fraley's and Luxes, and you know these are really good hitters at the bottom of the lineup that can make this fly. But I do think that Seager is
Stands
I
out.
think Seager's a premier play, no matter what else you do in your lineup.
I agree.
And yeah, I don't think is it ever going to be time to play Gosselin?
I don't know. I mean, there's like going to be, this is a game they need to win. If he's really rolling, sure, and they're up like 10-0, he might get the leash. Okay. But I just don't think we can do it on this. Like, but I mean, if it's like 2-1, he's getting pinch hit for. You know what I mean?
Right.
So maybe if you're going to stack the Dodgers, you can throw him into one out of your bunch of if you're playing a ton of lineups. But I just can't quite get there. I do think the over prop is interesting on his 4.5 Ks, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I mean, look at our next game. I mean, Houston and Oakland, we have, I mean, look, and he's finally actually appropriately priced for the way he's been pitching. But Greinke is 7K. And I just want to say, like, right now, just immediate, this is my favorite K prop of the day, 3.5 strikeouts for Greinke. I like him to go over that number. This game has a total of 7.5, which is crazy. I have a little bit of interest in Greinke as another weird low, cheap guy, just based on that he's still a talented guy, and as you would say, he's got tricks. He's probably too good of a pitcher to be 7K. He's appropriate to how he's been pitching, but there still is a ceiling in there, and I think Houston would want him to throw 90 to 100 pitches again to be ready for the playoffs, assuming that he'll even start in the playoffs, which I think is even maybe a long shot assumption at this point. But I think he did, a few starts back against the Angels. He put up 32. So it's not like we don't see any ceiling from him ever. That is the Angels, of course. But I think that at 7K, he's interesting, but probably going to be left on the shelf for this slate. And I'm not interested in any of the hitting in this game at all.
You interested in any Montas?
It's a little too much for me against Houston. I get it. I just can't bring myself to do it.
You have to figure out, we'd have to try to find a way to get the 200 for Cole, I think.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think Montas is the one thing I would say is that Oakland still is moderately hanging on to some playoff hopes.
Yeah.
So he is they are gonna let him go if they're in a position to do so.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I would say about that. I have this weird feeling I'm supposed to have a sprinkle of that.
That's fine.
It's kind of hard to play against. I mean, Houston obviously they had their issues from a PR perspective and from an actual cheating perspective. Mm-hmm. But that's a pretty good freaking pretty good team, man. And did you see what we didn't talk about? Did you see the whole Kyle Tucker thing from a couple of games ago?
No.
Okay, so this is what happened. It was on YouTube. So somebody was on third base. One of the other, I think Gurriel was on third base. There was like less than 2 outs. I think Tucker was on second, and there was a fly ball to right field, and Gurriel tagged up, and he came home. And even the announcers were like, "Whoa!" They thought that Tucker might have left. The Gurriel might have left early from third base. Okay. Now, in the meanwhile, Tucker went to third. All right. And what happened was they kind of looked at the replay, and before they could challenge it, right? Like even the announcers were like, "Oh, I think he might have left early." So what they did was, as the manager was coming out, there's still time hadn't been called. Tucker deliberately led off of third base, okay, and got himself picked off, because once another play happens, they can't challenge anymore. So he got himself picked off, and so they couldn't challenge the run scoring. So the Gurriel thing scored. Just the sickest thing ever. I mean,
that's crazy.
about that, right? Yeah. And I'm sure, look, as smart as Kyle Tucker is, I'm sure it wasn't his idea.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, so this is hey, you come up with the garbage can plan like that. I mean, you're gonna have other ideas too. So anyway, Houston's going to be a really tough team in the playoffs, and definitely not the greatest matchup in the world for the Montas. But look, talk about leash, talk about whatever. I mean, they do really need to win. So if he's pitching well, they're going to let him pitch. So that's. Again, I think it's reaching, but I just, would just throw that out there.
I want to say something real quick about the car. I want to just real quickly jump back to the Cardinals game. It looked, I got the wind wrong at first because I had the wrong report I was looking at. The winds are blowing heavily out. I'm going to add St. Louis to one of my stacks that I want to target because it's a huge difference when it's like 20 miles an hour to left center. I'm very interested in St. Louis now, which I'll touch on all the bats at the end, but I just wanted to get back to that because I did misread the weather. All right,
yeah, so just so you know, can I post this in the? Is there a chat in here or no?
What's that?
Yeah, here, you know what? I don't know if I'll get in trouble with the YouTube. I'll just text it to you. There's a great YouTube video of that.
That's awesome.
Of that thing, which I will send to you right now before I forget.
All right.
All right, so moving on.
The Atlanta, San Diego to close it out. On a different slate, I would have interest in Fried. I actually think like you could make a pretty good case for him. We're talking about, Sonny Gray. Why aren't we talking about Max Fried in a similar price range against the Padres team that really hasn't been anything against left-handed pitching the second half of the season, anything against any pitching in the second half of the season. Really important game for Atlanta. I think he's interesting, but I don't think I'm going to get there. And I don't think I'm going to get to the Atlanta bats. Although I would say again, on another slate, I would be very heavily interested in this Atlanta stack. I just can't do it with the stacks I like better.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Something's up with San Diego. Maybe, man, Fried 9,200 is a little. It's not quite going to make it for me, but
yep.
But
it's exactly how I feel about him. Just the strikeout upside is not always there for him, and it's just hard to do. But he is going to be unowned. And by the way, again, if you're running, if everything goes wrong with your pitching in the first hour and a half tonight or whatever before the Colorado game starts, and you're on that one, or I guess the first hour, whatever it is, jump on the Atlanta side of things because there is definitely a path for them to score a bunch of runs here. But in general, I'm not going to prioritize stacking them on the slate.
Maybe that's not the worst idea in the world. I mean, I don't have them rated all that high, but
I just think that Atlanta is like an interesting off the board play. But all right, you ready to talk about to sum it up a little bit?
Yeah, and unfortunately, there was one team that I forgot to mention as far as stats go, and it's the same team as always. But today, it's particularly interesting because of who they're going against, and so I will start. I will get there in a second. So as far as pitching goes, on a point per dollar basis, I have Gilbert as top rated, then followed by Cease and Gray, and then under that Gibson and Hernandez. But the reality is that Garrett Cole is a really, really strong GPP play. I have Montas just kind of like I just wrote him down. I don't know if I'm gonna play him, but I just wrote him down. Let's put it that way. With respect to stacks go, Dodgers, San Fran, and Colorado, top ones, and then under that I have Toronto and Philly, and the two other teams that we mentioned. We did mention Texas and Baltimore. I do like them, and just on pure theory, and because they're good value also, and because I'm stubborn, I played worse teams than the Angels, and if Logan Gilbert's going to be chalky, which he will be, that's not the worst idea in the world. So I could pair some Angels with San Francisco and be off the board. I could pair so that's the one team I forgot to mention, and that's about it for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna say so. San Francisco I have as number one, with the Dodgers, St. Louis as 2 and 2A. I like the Baltimore mini stack. I like the Colorado value. I like the Yankee one-offs. And then my getting not cute, but my getting different-ish stacks are Cincinnati, Philadelphia, and Toronto.
Yeah,
I really like the St. Louis.
Yeah, Cincinnati on FanDuel. I forgot to re-emphasize, and St. Louis with the wind blowing out. Yeah, that's St. Louis. They've been dangerous. They've been dangerous.
I mean, they've won 11 in a row now. I mean,
Are they really?
Yeah. They're the hottest team.
Are they going to be five? Are they 500?
Oh, they're in the playoffs right now.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, they're not going to win the division, but they just swept, Milwaukee after who's winning the
Could
division.
be a dangerous team, man. If Flaherty actually comes back and healthy.
Well, they just have to win that one game playoff. Hopefully not against my Dodgers. Hopefully against the Giants. But for pitching, I do have a similar pitching. I actually like Cole quite a bit. Cole, Gilbert, Gray, Gibson, and Cease are the guys I have ahead of everybody, with Hernandez, Suarez, Berrios, and Greinke as interesting pivots. And I mentioned my stacks individually. I really like this Baltimore mini stack. Hayes, Mancini, McKenna, I think are all interesting. So I can certainly get behind a little mini stack of Baltimore.
All right. Well, I don't know about live tonight.
Okay.
I'll let you know within a couple of hours. But I'm going to be doing the MMA video. Got a lot going on today. And when we get off, watch the YouTube video I tested.
I'll take a look. All right, everybody. Good luck tonight. Hopefully, we have a screenshot night. Good luck, everybody.